Hello everybody, it's me again. Now, today what we're going to do is we are going to do a lesson on something that you guys have all seen before. The problem is, many people that do these types of problems make mistakes. And I'm going to hopefully clarify some mistakes. And what we're talking about today is we're going to be solving simple equations. Okay? Simple, nothing crazy. Now, eventually we'll be getting to the crazy problems with the distributive property and all the fractions and all that good stuff. But for today, we're going to focus on some simple ones because we got to start off simple so we can progressively get to the more difficult ones. So take a look at this first problem that we have up here. What we have here, we got -9 equals b plus 11. Now, simple one-step equation. Now, what we do when we solve this equation is this. We should be, in this equation, looking for what is being done to the b. Well, the b is our variable right here, and what's being done to it is 11 is being added to it. So what we need to do is we need to do what we call the inverse operation. Now, the inverse operation is a very fancy way of saying the opposite operation. So the question now is, if 11 is being added to the b, what is the opposite of plus 11? Minus 11. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this plus 11 and we're going to subtract 11 to both sides, like so. You see that? Now if we look, 11 minus 11 is 0. Because it's 0, we can go ahead and get rid of those 11 because 0 is nothing. So 11 minus 11 is nothing. So what we're left with now on this right side of the equation is the b. Now, if we put an equal sign, here is the reason why I wrote these rules up here. I didn't leave them there from my class. They're going to mean something to us. Now, if we look here, we're going to be -9 plus -11. Okay? -9 plus -11. We're going to combine those up. Now, the question is, if we're looking here, it says adding and subtracting rational numbers. We're adding these up, -9, -11. So we ask ourselves the question we asked ourselves before. Are these signs the same or are they different? They're the same. So what operation are we going to do? We're going to add the numbers. So what is 9 plus 11? It's 20. So I'm going to put a 20 here. Now after I do that, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to keep a sign with a bigger number. Okay, 11 is bigger, and it's a negative, so it's going to be -20. And right there, people, -20 equals b is my answer. Now, if you want to check, what you can do is you can take the -20 and you can go back to the OG problem and put the -20 into the b. And if we did that, we would have -9 equals, instead of writing the b, we're going to write -20. -20 plus 11. Now, if we look, these two signs are different. And when signs are different, we subtract. So we're going to subtract 20 minus 11 is 9. Then it says we're going to keep the sign of the bigger number. That's a -20 because 20 is bigger. So it's going to be -9. And you see, these two, -9 and -9, do equal each other. Therefore, my problem is correct. And that's how we solve these simple equations. Now let's take a look at a few more. Okay, we got a bunch to go over real quick just to make sure we all understand. So we're going to move through some of these. Now take a look at this next one. This next one's a little different, okay? We got x minus 6 is all going to equal -4. Now, if we look at this one here, once again, we're looking to see what's being done to the x. Well, what's being done to the x? X is going to be, there's 6 being subtracted away from the x. So we got to get rid of that subtract 6. Now, what is the inverse operation or opposite operation of -6? Plus 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 6 here. And then what I need to do is make sure I add 6 to the other side of the equation. See, what you do to one side of the equation, you need to do to the other. Okay? We got to keep the balance right. So I'm going to add 6 here. Now, there's some people who might have learned to put a wall. If you did, beautiful. Put the wall. Okay? As some people call it. All that wall is to distinguish the left side and the right side of the equation. So -6 and 6, once again, that's 0. So those are going to cancel out. So on the left side, we're left with the x, because that's still there. We put the equal sign. Now look at these two signs here. Are they the same or are they different? They're different. signs that are different, we're going to subtract. So what is 6 minus 4? It's 2. And now we got to deal with our signs. Now what's bigger, a 4 or 6? 6. And the 6 right here is positive. Therefore, it's going to be a positive 2. So there's my answer. X equals 2. All right? Now, hopefully those two simple addition subtraction problems made sense. But now what happens when we got multiplying and dividing? Let's take a look. Now here we got this one. 54 equals 6x. Now we look at this. What's different about this problem? There's no plus, there's no minus sign. It's the 6 and the x mashed together, right? When the 6 and the x or anything's mashed together like that, that means multiply. So we got 6 times x. Now remember we talked about the inverse operation, the opposite operation. Now, what is the opposite operation of multiplication? It's division. So what we need to do now is we're going to divide both sides by something. Now, before we try to add those two numbers together to make 0, but now we can't do that. We don't want 0 here. What we want is a 1, a positive 1. So what we got to do is we're going to have to divide, and we divide, we're going to draw some lines like that. We're going to divide both sides by something. Now what are we going to divide by? Whatever number is next to the x. What's next to the x? Positive 6. So on the bottom, we're going to use positive 6. Many people want to put negative 6 because they get confused with adding and subtracting. Don't do that. This is multiplying. So when you do, and dividing. So when you do this, you need to make sure you use the same number. Positive 6, positive 6. Now what's 6 divided by 6? 1. And 1 times x is x. So those will technically cancel out, leaving me with x, which is equal to, and now we go 54 divided by 6 is 9. They're both positive, so the signs are the same. See how we jump to this side? Because this is multiplying and dividing. Signs are the same, so the answer is positive. So 9 equals x. And that's it. All right? Now let's take a look at one where we maybe have a little bit of dividing. Take a look at this problem right here. This problem a little bit different. Some people say, oh my goodness, got a fraction in it. Don't worry about it. X over 7 equals negative 9. I said x over 7. What I should have said is x divided by 7, okay? Because this is a division. Now, if it's division, we got to ask ourselves, what's the inverse operation of division? Multiplication. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. Parentheses mean multiply. We're going to multiply something to both sides. Now, what are we going to multiply? We're going to multiply whatever is in the denominator of this fraction. Now, what's in the denominator? 7. So I'm going to put a 7 here. And whatever we do to one side, we need to do to the other. So I'm going to put a 7 there. Now, once I do this, now I'm going to go ahead and solve. So look, right here, I'm going to put a 1 underneath this 7. Because don't forget, remember what I told you before. You cannot multiply a fraction by a whole number. They have to be two fractions. So if we look at this, we can do some cross cancel. We can cancel out the 7 and the 7, right? 7 goes into 7 one time. 7 goes into 7 one time. And if you look what we did, 1 times x is 1x. Remember I said we want to get 1's next to that variable, right? And so this actually is going to just equal x, and this is going to equal. Now here we go, negative 9 times 7. Now 9 times 7 is 63. And if we look, these two signs right here are different. When the signs are different, the answer is going to be negative. So it's going to be negative 63, and that's our answer. All right? Now what we just did right there, we solved some simple one-step equations. All right? Now, that might have seemed very simple to you guys, but I want you guys to practice these, okay? And then what we're going to do in a few days, we're going to talk about what happens when we got all these operations together, okay? And when we have that, that's a little different. We're going to do two-step, multi-step equations, all right? So hopefully this will be pretty simple for you guys. Like I said, we got to start off simple so we can progressively get more difficult, all right? So one-step equations is a nice place to start, but don't worry. We will definitely get to more difficult things eventually. All right, thank you for watching.